Hi, welcome. Simon here, and I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'll be doing an iPad screen replacement. This is the 5th generation, and the model of this is A1823. If you're not sure where to look for the model, go ahead and turn your iPad to the back, and if you look in the back side of the fine print here, it says A1823. Again, this is the 5th generation iPad, and I'll be doing a screen replacement from start to finish, and I'll walk you through step by step. Now, the very important thing to have in this is definitely a safety first. So make sure you always have a safety eye goggle, protect your eye at all times. We are dealing with broken glass, so the glass, do not want them to end up in your eyes or elsewhere. So make sure you have a safety first. Get yourself a pair of eye safety goggle. We do need to have a Phillips screwdriver here. Super glue to re-glue the home button bracket. So there is a bracket right here that is holding on to the back of the button where the clicker is. That is where you press the button. So using the glue is to hold the bracket to go against the clicker. We do need to have a third-party adhesive red tape. I know that some of the new screen that you purchase, it already pre-installed with the adhesive tape here to re-glue it back, but those tape are not great. I always recommend you to use the third party, which I'm be using this here. It's a red adhesive tape. They tape a lot stronger. You need to have a prying tool, some plastic prying tools, some tweezers, and whatnot. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I like to do is to put this on. Go ahead and get yourself a heat gun. If you do not have the heat gun, go ahead and get yourself a hair dryer. So the metal prying tool is go underneath the glass. What I'm doing right now is to cut the adhesive tape, and the heat gun is to melt the glue, to soften the glue so that you can remove the glass easily. If you do not have the heat gun, I was saying that you can get the hair dryer. So go ahead and borrow from your mom or your sister, and you can continue with the repair yourself. While you're heating the glue get hardened, you can always come back and reheat it again. You don't have to hit the whole iPad. You just want to hit where the area you're going to work with for now, and come back and reheat it again. When you're heating up the iPad screen, try not to stay in one position. The heat gun is very hot. You do not want to damage the LCD or any internal component. So you want to keep moving the heat gun so that the temperature is not concentrated in one spot. Okay, do not just heat up one position extremely hot. You may get like bad LCD screen afterwards. So keep moving it around. You want to spread an even heat, just enough to soften the glue, but not too hot to damage any of the internal component. So every iPad has a different crack on the glass. So the more crack you have, the more difficult it may get. But for my case, my crack is not as severe. As you can see that most of them are not small crack, except on this part here are a lot smaller cracks, but the rest of it are on a bigger crack. So it's not too bad for my repair. I just broke the glass. Okay, when you get to this part right here, while the bracket is still warm, I like to remove the bracket and the home button. So just be very careful. Do not break the cable. This is where the touch ID is, and we are transferring the touch ID or the home button over to the new screen, so that the function is still available. Now, if by accident you kind of break the cable or damage the cable, and that is not the end of your iPad, you still can use your iPad like normally you would, but it's just that the touch ID would not work. You can buy a third-party home button. Okay, so you can buy a third-party home button like this and replace it with the original if you broke it. And yeah, you just don't have the touch ID, but the clicker and the button would still work perfectly, just normal. Now let's go ahead and continue with the next step. At this point here, the iPad is already turned off, and I like to go ahead and cut the cable. There are two cables right here, and that is like the cable for these sensor. So I just cut it. Some of you may hate me. It says that, well, you're gonna short the iPad. I can tell you it's not going to happen for me, for my case, but maybe for you, yes. So you should disconnect the battery when you do that. But I have done it so many times, knock on wood, it never happened to me, and I hope this would never happen to me too. So yeah, I'm putting the broken glass into a bag so I can easily safely throw this away by not cutting any other people here. So let's put this aside. I always like to come and clean up my mess because you still have broken glass everywhere. Okay, the reason why I cut that broken glass out is because it is a lot easier to work with without the glass. If you imagine if you have the glass and you got to move it around, it is a lot more difficult to do so. And I think, like, you know, getting cut, getting injured is not worth it. Okay, so make sure you back up your iPad, and it's okay to have the battery to be on and replace the screen. Once the backup is there, you've done your backup, and yeah, you know, if you shorted the iPad, so be it. Get yourself a new iPad, and not getting hurt. So imagine if you have this broken glass, if it poke your fingers, or if the broken glass end up in your eyes, you hurt yourself. Hey, is it worth it to you know, lose an eye for an iPad? You tell me. Is it worth getting poked with all this broken glass and feel pain for like a few days or a week? Or you tell me. So I don't know. Everyone is different. And for me, I would just cut off the broken glass so I have a better safety and easier working environment rather than afraid that the iPad is getting shorted. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm coming here to clean off the adhesive tape here. So this black color is the tape that we need to remove and apply with the new tape. Okay, so now once you're done with that, make sure all these tiny little small pieces, broken glass are all removed. Come back here and clean it up. Make sure everything is all clean, nice. Okay, clean my table. Have a safe and clean environment. Alright, so here is the next step. What I'm gonna do next is open up this plastic here, expose the little tape, and you can see the screw. Go ahead and remove that one screw. This is the second screw. They are just the regular Phillips screws. Bottom right, bottom left. And this is your Wi-Fi antenna and the Bluetooth, so make sure you do not break them. Now once you have that, you can go ahead and lift up the LCD screen. So lift it up towards yourself. And this is another bracket, so the 3 screws holding down to the bracket. So go ahead and remove them. You can just pry it straight up. It's kind of like a Lego, so this thing snap on like a Lego, the LCD screen. So I lift it straight up with the bracket. This is the metal bracket. It comes right off all together in one piece. So come back and clean off any broken glass on the LCD. The next step here is to remove the connector, the one that I cut earlier on the LCD. So there are 2 of them that I cut. So just remove by peeling it off, like taking it out. Now here comes the new screen. All right, so this is your new screen, and let me make myself a little. Okay, I just removed the plastic that protects the home button here so that I can test the clicker when I put it in. Now let me quickly walk you through it. When you buy the new screen, some of them are exposed with, like, this is exposed, right? So I pre-taped my new screen before I did the video. Okay, so all around here are the sensor, the back sensor in the back, and I like to put a tape, the same tape that I'll be using to retape the new screen. So I'll be using the tape here, double-sided tape, tape the sensor in the back as well as the connector here. The reason is because I feel like sometimes I may have a chance that the new screen sensor in the back may touch the LCD screen here, right? So the glass go on top of the LCD, right? So the sensor may touch the side of the LCD, and sometimes you feel like the ghost touching by itself, or we call it ghost touching, or it just like the sensor touch on its own. So your iPad will just moving around all the time. That is because of the sensor in the back, or the sensor right by the connector right here. So pay attention to that. I like to get a tape to cover them up. Yeah, so if half the screen is not working, or your iPad have this ghost touch, that's because of the back sensor. All right, so let's move on. The next step I like to do now is to transfer the home button. And again, the home button is quite easy to be transferred. I like to have something here to leverage out my screen, like this, like so. And the home button goes on top of the new screen. Have it align in a position. Okay. And what I like to do is to feel the clicker. When I press on it, I can hear the clicker going on. And this is where the bracket is going to be glued on. Okay, so now get this super glue. Open up that bracket. I just do like a tiny little drop, maybe like a size of a half a grain of rice. Okay, just half a grain of rice. You don't need to have a lot, just enough. When you squeeze it down, that glue is going to shoot it to the side. Okay, make sure before the glue dries up, you want to come back and re-press the clicker. Now I can feel the clicker is good. That means the bracket is in the right position underneath the home button here. So I'm holding it down, letting the glue dry. Just leave it, it will dry very quickly. Now I like to come here and start installing the screen. So go ahead and put the install your screen here, the connector. Yeah, you don't have to put a lot of pressure or force to push the uh, to install the connector. They are just like Lego. Once you align them in the right position, just a minimal force, it would click in by itself. You don't have to force it down very hard. The next step here is to install the bracket with the LCD. So I aligned it properly. When I press it, I can feel like it install and click on just perfect. Okay. Now remember the 3 screws. Let's go ahead and install them. Okay, now this LCD is going to go above the home button cable right here, and just let it rest. By the way, make sure that you peel off the plastic, so the new screen comes with both sides to protect the screen. So one is coming from the back here, which I just peeled it. I peeled it off before I make the video. And the second is the front here. You can peel off the plastic later on. So make sure you peel the one in the back. If not, you get like a blurry, unclear screen. And it's too late when you realize that, because you already retape and glue the iPad together. So make sure you remove that before you do the rest of it. All right, so usually at this point, I would like to continue with the repair by applying the double-sided tape. So this one here is the 2mm, 2mm. And let's go ahead and apply the tape. If you feel like the 2 mm is not enough, you can always do another one here, like double down, since there is plenty more room. This is the Wi-Fi, or the not the Wi-Fi, sorry, this is your carrier antenna. So if you have the SIM card installed to get the free to use the data line, that's what it is. So you can come back and do it double if you want to make it more sticky. It is not necessary, but I just wanted to share that with you and show it with you. All right, so this is the final tape here. Let's go ahead and run it along. Okay, so that should be it. So what I'd like to do at this point, I would like to test out my iPad, make sure everything works, and before I close it in. So if you see any dust, any stuff at this point, you want to come back and clean it up before you close the screen. All right, so let's go ahead and test out the home button. Yep, it works. Try again, and that works. And make sure everything works. So what I'll do is I would move it around all the corners and make sure the sensor senses every single of the corners, right? Yep. So perfect, everything works. And the next step is I will turn it off and tape it down. So the taping down is very straightforward. You just have to remove the double-sided tape here. So if you find this video is helpful, please go ahead and comment below and say, hey, I was able to fix my iPad thanks to the video, or anything you like to say. But yeah, I'd like to hear from you in a comment below. Please click the like button if this video is helpful to you. Also, you might want to check out the description below. In the description below, where I purchase all my tools, right? All my tools, all my gadget and the screen on Amazon or eBay. I'll link them in the description below. Again, I'd like to point it out to you. Go ahead and click on that so that you get the correct parts and the tool for this repair. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I come back and do the last final peel on this side of the iPad. Now here, I want you to pay a little close attention to. You see that cable is sticking out, that is for the screen. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing it down, I tuck it in, and I close the screen. That's the little secret. So if you're watching all the way until the end right here, you learned something from me today. I hope you learned something from me today. So that is a little secret that I do, is I push that cable, flip it in, and I close the screen down. All right, do not forget to hit the like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time, good luck with the repair. Bye now.